All right, guys, welcome to the next episode of the Revlutn Podcast. My name is Levi, Scrivner.
I'm Aidan, McCormick.
And this is Todd.
The best guest that we've ever had in the podcast, hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully
today he behaves, doesn't throw up on camera.
Exactly.
But today we're supposed to have a guest on, but due to some scheduling issues, not going to happen today. You're stuck with us two again.
Yep.
So get used to it. But today's going to be an interesting topic. I think it's going to be something that dives into just kind of the mindset behind how we operate Rev, how we operate kind of our personal brands, just kind of something that we both try and live by. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you want to introduce the topic.
What was the topic again?
The topic today is going to be setting a high standard and holding yourself to it. And so do you kind of want to talk about with Rev how you've set a standard, especially you and Rain, which is the quality of products that we offer, and just what that looks like?
Yeah, so when creating Revlutn, I wanted to kind of make it more of like a limited edition factor, to where every time we would come out with a piece of clothing, that would be the only time it's going to come out. We're not going to come out with it again. And the reason behind that is because we're always wanting to innovate. We're always wanting to get better every single launch. And that was something that was it was very important to me, because I wanted for when people do get a piece of our clothing, it's like, oh shit, like you've been with us since, 2018 or 2019 or whatever, based off of each launch. So that's kind of what our kind of model was until this year, actually. So we ended up launching the pump covers, the three pump covers, the Good vs. Evil, the Katana, and the flock shirt. And I immediately saw that more people were more gravitated towards the Good vs. Evil and the Katana. So I ended up reordering those for the first time ever. I restocked items that sold really well and actually sold out. So it's kind of weird to like actually go through that process and like reorder things after they're sold out. But we did change a couple things, just based off of what I thought was needing to change. We ended up changing the overall fit of the shirt. We kept the fabric because people were raving about the fabric and how soft it was, more of like a blanket material. And we changed the neckline as well to make it a little bit higher up. But yeah, those are just things that I thought needed to be changed. We never really had anyone say that they hated those specific things, but I'm always thinking of what's better, what's going to be, what's going to like put us over the top and make our quality even better every single time. So we set our standard there because I want to always come out with the best. And sometimes I get in my head though, is like right when I get some products, when I get like bulk inventory or like we go through the whole sampling stage and we get the final project, I already know what I want to change. And that's what sucks, because I'm very crucial about myself. I'm my worst critic when it comes to Revlutn. I want to always make sure everything's perfect, even though it will never be perfect. But I just set my standard up so freaking high to where it's like impossible to make myself happy when it comes to creating product for Rev. So yeah, like always innovating, always wanting to be better, and just trying to really change the game when it comes to quality, fabric, all that stuff. So, because we do have like a lot of items, in the making right now, and we're just going through sampling stages. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many samples we went through for the ladies line. It's insane how many samples we've gone through, and I still haven't got them perfect. So we're going to continue to keep on getting samples for those and get it as perfect as possible, because the ladies deserve it. So
yeah, I think the ladies collection is really where I've gotten to see like the standard of quality be pushed. I think anyone who works in apparel understands that if you can tap into anything that the ladies are going to buy, that's where the best money is. Just girls want to spend more money on gym clothes than dudes, and it makes sense. And obviously that's a big money maker first, but the nice thing about being a small company is that we have the ability to really manage our quality really well. And we can push, we've pushed this drop out for months and months and months, because we keep getting samples coming in, and while we could have gone to market with them, it wouldn't have been the best product that we could have possibly brought. And that's just not what we want to do. And we've done that with other collections too. We've gotten another set of samples, or we've, like you said, you'll critique just the smallest thing.
Yeah.
That to me as a consumer, I'm I don't even notice it. But I think when you're making the art itself, you see those little things a lot differently.
And just to kind of piggyback off of that, when we created the first initial Arsenal leggings, I went through 10 samples to get that one right. And the reason behind that is that each sample was either off by it's too tight here or too loose here around the waistband, or it was see-through, or it busted through the seams. Just every single thing was happening. And right when we got to the 10th sample, I had my girlfriend try it on, and it was perfect. It wasn't see-through. It had the technical pockets in there. It had every single thing that it needed to have. And yeah, so we perfected it after 10 times, and that's how we really set the standard. We want to put out the best, and we're going to do anything we can to do that. Even if we do go through 10 samples or 15 samples or 20 samples, we're going to get it right either way. And that's one of the things that, I apply to life. I'm never going to give up, and I want to continue to go through those stages and, tweak things or fix things however I need to do that to just get it done. So
yeah, I think when you look at our content that we put out, especially from anything that is if it's the Revlutn Podcast page, if it's the Revolution page, if it's your page, any of our core team, everything we put out is very, for the most part, the standard of quality is super high, right? We all want things that are shot on a nice camera. We want good editing. We want, and there's a lot of stuff that photos, videos we take that it's not the right exact angle. We probably could post it and get away with it, and most people wouldn't even notice, but to us, it's not to the content quality that we want. And I think people see that. I think people see the effort. They see I think that's what really sets us apart. Yeah.
But it also hurts us too.
Yeah.
So when you look at a lot of beginner brands, they start bare minimum, and a lot of people don't have the access to nice cameras, nice computer software, or just lack of knowledge when it comes to editing photos or editing videos and stuff like that. I kind of worked my way up through starting Rev and and starting my personal brand too, that I kind of eliminated all those things, and I found my niche and found what I wanted and what I wanted Revlutn to look like, aesthetic wise. And that was the kind of dark, but not grunge, but just dark-ish vibes. And because that's what speaks to me most, is because the outcast is someone that is kind of in the darkness and is wanting to step out, right? And that's kind of the aspect behind that is and on top of that, we are starting to switch up our color codes. We want to really embody what the Outcast is with colors and vibe of the art on the shirt or joggers or whatever. So you're gonna start seeing a lot more of that in our clothing, and we're really gonna start painting the picture for what Outcast is deep down.
I think people really do see that in our content. I think you see it also in like the way we tell stories, with the way that we decide to shoot content, the way that you edit it, the way that we put captions, like what reels we even decide to clip from this podcast. Like it's all, I think in a sense, like we've kind of identified in a culture of like what the story we're trying to tell at all times is. And it's not, we don't even explicitly tell it to each other. I just think we've been doing it long enough now that we kind of know what it is. And I think you see it also just in who we choose, the quality of people that we choose to like have around us. The core team for Rev is like, while none of us are perfect and we're all still learning a ton, it's also a lot of people who are very driven, very like, and you see them work, you see them want to express their creative side. Even if they're not super creatively minded, it's like everyone wants to express it somehow. You see people wanting to like better themselves. You see people who are in the gym consistently working on something, working towards a goal, whether it's like a bodybuilding show or they're trying to just get in better shape, or they're cutting for the summer, bulking, whatever it is.
Or picking up a camera to be more creative.
Yeah. Or learning how to do like X skill, or learning to start their own business, or whatever it is. Like you see a lot of people doing that. And I think because of that, because everyone has those people around us, it pushes us more. And it helps us push the standard of our content, push the standard of our products, push the standard of the newsletters, of the podcast, of whatever it is that we're doing. Like the standard of that is getting pushed because the people around us are pushing us. I mean, so the old saying of like the 5 people you spend the most time around with are gonna like.
It's a direct reflection of yourself.
So, I mean, I think the more I've noticed that when I'm in like spending more time in the community of Rev, my motivation and drive is higher. And then the weeks and time periods where I'm not, my motivation to do things, my discipline to sit down and edit something until like 2 a.m., whatever it is, like that goes away. So keeping the quality of the people around me is important.
Yeah. There's, when we were talking about like how like sometimes like the quality of our like photography or videography is so much higher than a lot of other brands. And I guess like people don't really understand like our brand when it comes to quality, because we are smaller. But we did it right the first time. And what I mean by that is we spent a shit ton of money when it came to putting quality into the products before even having an actual presence on social media or on Google or anything like that. So a lot of people had this misconception that like it's a smaller brand, they're gonna have crappy quality and they're not gonna waste their money on it, right? Well, that kind of like that sucked for us, because we had the good quality and not a lot of people gave us a chance. And now that we've kind of gained a little bit of traction and stuff like that, just based off of like my personal brand or just other people like associated with Revolution throughout Fort Collins or Colorado, or just like the US in general, more people are starting to understand the quality once they actually get the product. And that's one of the things why we do like events at Crunch Fitness or just like at other gyms, so people can actually feel the fabric, feel the quality, put it on, and they're immediately like gravitated towards that and they want to buy it because they feel it or they heard it from someone else. When it comes to like starting a brand or starting a brand from scratch, word of mouth and showing your presence at facilities like the gym or wherever fitness, fitness sanctioned stuff, people are really going to gravitate towards that and really like know exactly what you're about. So that's one of the things that I really thought has helped us grow as a brand was kind of, show our face, show who we are. Because with a brand, so many people are wanting to relate to you, and it's more of a personal brand in the long run. They want to know exactly who the owner is and all that stuff.
I think especially for a local brand, especially for something that's smaller and a startup, like people want to be able to put a name and a face to the brand. They want to put like people to that, and I think that helped us a lot last spring. Was like we had a very heavy presence in Crunch, and so we were able to drive a lot of sales from there. I think another thing is like you see a lot of the people who consistently wear Rev that I see are people who like are very consistent in the gym and very consistent, like they push themselves really well. And so I think a lot of people they identify Rev with someone who like is in a sense like from a gym standpoint a quality person.
Yeah.
I think that's been something that's been like very helpful for us.
I agree.
When you think about like how you hold yourself and just how you pursue hard things in life, has that been a standard that you set for yourself? And if so, like, has it always been that way, or is that something you had to learn over time?
I think it was definitely something that I learned. If you didn't know me like growing up, like I was more of like someone that was on their computer. I was playing RuneScape or playing Xbox, or just being more of like an inside cat, like during like middle school to like, I would say like middle school-ish. And then, but I also like skateboarded too. So like I kind of did both, but I was very into like video games and stuff like that. So I didn't really have too much drive in the early years. But once I got into like college and stuff, or like high school, I started joining a lot of sports and stuff like that. And then once I got into college, it was like it's kind of go time. Like you have to really get your life in order, and like this is going to define your whole life. Like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to stick to college, or are you going to start a business, or are you going to get a job or do a trade or whatever? So it's kind of like get your life in order sort of stage. So I think once I got to college, I was very driven to be something big, and I started to really paint the picture. And then once like, junior year came around, I was like, okay, like I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's when I was like, okay, like I'm all in. And of course, like throughout the years, like you go through this like up and down, up and down, up and down, and then up, right? It's not just constantly like a linear progression. Like you're going to go through those ups and downs. You're going to go through, breakups or lose a job or financial issues, all that shit. You're going to go through all that stuff, but it's like you have to think in your head, it's going to be better. Everything is temporary. And that's one thing that like my dad like really spoke to me about, was everything is temporary. There's always something that you could do to change that and fix that, and you create your own destiny. So that's one of the things that I like really spoke out to me when I was young, and just applying that to life, because you could be anything you want in life as long as you put in the effort, you put in the time, and you actually believe that you could do it. And that's the strongest and most powerful thing, is belief.
Yeah, I think when you combine belief, discipline, work, you end up like getting the opportunities, and the luck happens to you that you need for it to come through. I mean, there's obviously like a lot of things that you can't control in life, but I think when you start to put those to the side and look at the controllables, and you are like, all right, I'm gonna just control what I can control,
Yep.
you start to realize like there's a lot more that can happen than you think. I think
Exactly.
I think your like the sports background, for me at least, that's when I kind of learned of like, all right, like if I set myself to a higher standard, like good things will happen for me here. Just I wasn't like the biggest kid. I was just like, wasn't necessarily the fastest. I was faster, but I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't like, I had no guarantee to even start like senior year. And for me, it was like, okay, I have to like outwork people and do different things than like they're going to do, because that's my only way to get on the field.
It's the only way.
And so I think it's, for me, I've been able to kind of keep that. I definitely, like you said, like ups and downs. And I think I really see it in my discipline. I see it in my like motivation for stuff. I see it in my, just my quality of stuff. I think a lot of times, like my standard doesn't necessarily move, but hitting my standard, that will, like my quality will go up and down. Which like, I'm not like perfect,
but it's like once you hit that standard too, like you're always thinking about like, okay,
how can I make
what's the next standard, right? Because we're going to change throughout the years. Like we're gonna change paths, or we might have a bigger standard, the next year or something like that. It's always like trying to like, it's the never satisfied factor.
I think also like I've noticed that this semester for me, like I've taken on more responsibilities just I've had to, just from I have to do internship with athletics for my minor, and that's been awesome, a great experience. But that's just a whole nother like new thing that I've had to add on, plus the podcast, plus 15 hours of school and social life. So it's like it's a lot, but at the same time it's like it's forced me to adjust my standards. I'm not necessarily lowering my standard to a point where it's not high enough, but like I've definitely had to be realistic with myself and be like, hey, I'm stretching myself thin. I can lower my standard a little bit in one area to be able to raise my overall standard to be higher, right? Like if I want to raise my overall standard and accomplish more, I might have to lower my standard when it comes to my grades. Like a 4.0, if I set that, like that's unachievable for me currently. So it just doesn't make sense, and I also don't want to prioritize it to that point. So I'm going to drop my standard down a little bit in grades so that then I can actually put more effort into a podcast and have that be of higher quality. And so I think that's something that I've learned recently, of just adjusting standards in individual areas to be able to increase my overall standard of quality, that I'm going to hold myself to. So,
all right, guys. Well, that's the end of episode 7. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was more of like a shorter one, which is, kind of an impromptu one that we weren't really expecting, but, it is what it is. But if you haven't already, definitely, subscribe to us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify. So just follow us on there. And share as much as possible.
Apple Podcasts too.
And Apple Podcasts, exactly. So, but yeah, if you guys have any questions or have any special guests that you want on, if you have any topics that you want us to talk about or touch on, definitely leave those in the comments down below on the YouTube video, and or DM us personally, and we'll definitely get to those.
But yeah, just a little announcement real quick. We're going to be doing a meetup April 23rd. Yeah, the 23rd. It's a Sunday. So for anyone who's local in Colorado, we'll be at Crunch in Fort Collins doing that. So maybe a bench competition. We'll see what else we got going on. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there. So even watching to this point, come on through. You'll get to buy some product off us too.
And we'll also be doing giveaways too for Revolution and Nutra innovations that we have stacked right here. So it'll be worth it for you guys to stop on by and check it out and get to meet a lot more people and just have this good like community like bonding thing. So
yeah, thanks for listening. Be the outcast.
Be the outcast, guys.